Hello my dear students, welcome to the second class of post-structuralism. Last class I gave you an introduction about post-structuralism, and today we are moving into Jacques Derrida. He is the prominent figure in post-structuralism. Actually, he inaugurated post-structuralism. He was an Algerian-born French philosopher who actually shaken the intellectual world. And now we are going to discuss his major contributions into post-structuralism and to the intellectual world. Welcome to the class. Jacques Derrida was an Algerian-born French-Jewish philosopher. He attacked the ideals of structuralism. We have dealt with structuralism that whole world works in a form of structure. Everything we see around in the form of structure, it got a center, then the structure balances itself. And we studied the structure of language, that words are arranged in sign, signifier, signified is the concept, signifiers are there, and together it constitute sign. And we saw the structure, and we saw the structure of myth. We saw several structuralist theorists, right? And Derrida here, he also takes some notions of structuralism into his new concept that we are going to discuss now. He advocated anti-essentialism. Structuralism was essentialist in nature, that it constitutes essentialism, it constitutes some reality. Each object has some truth in itself, right? And Derrida advocated anti-essentialism. His major work is Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, which was published in 1966. And we have already seen that this was a major work, that it was a rupture in the intellectual cosmos, right? It shaken the base of intellectual theories. And the same work, which was published in 1966, published as a chapter in 1967 in the work Writing and Difference. Structure, Sign and Play is a paper that he presented in the Johns Hopkins University. It was a founding text. In the conference, he has presented this paper in the conference titled Language of Criticism and the Sciences of Man. And through this work, he inaugurated post-structuralism, and he introduced the concept of deconstruction. Deconstruction. Structuralism is that we construct something, right? A novel or poem, we are just constructing the meanings out of it. We construct the structure, we analyze the work in terms of structure. And what Derrida do? He just deconstructs that structure. We'll look into details. Deconstruction is the method used by post-structuralism. Say, for example, when we read a work or we watch a movie, first time we watch it for the sake of watching, we will just enjoy the work or enjoy the movie or enjoy the novel we are into. But in the second time when we read it or when we watch it, we will be able to identify certain paradoxes. We will be able to identify hidden meanings. We may feel critical about that work. And that is what the process of deconstruction. The problems in the text or the problems in the movie, it gets revealed by themselves. It is the process of deconstruction. We read a text, and then the text itself shows its own paradoxes, it shows its own artificial nature, and we will understand that text is not unified. Text is disunified. And deconstruction shows us how text is made. and that is exposed in deconstruction. And he uses the term deconstruction in his major works, Writing and Difference, Speech and Phenomena, and of Grammatology. And we will look deeper into deconstruction and his other major terms. Structuralist discourses, it hold onto the notion of center, because the structure, if a thing has a structure, definitely it got a center that balanced the structure. So the structuralist discourses, they hold on to the notion of God as center in religion, or man as center in humanism. All believed humanistic approach was the belief of man as the center, prime importance to the man. But Derrida says that this notion of centrality has come to an end with post-structuralism, because he was deconstructing the same structure. And he says that perhaps something has occurred in the history of the concept of structure that could be called an event. And he's talking about event. What is this event? The rupture, break in the structuralist thought. It's the break because it was questioning the very structurality of structure. He was deconstructing it. He was deconstructing the whole intellectual thought. He was deconstructing the whole reality. And that is why he said his notions, his paper, in that paper, he introduced the concept of deconstruction, deconstructing the very real concepts. And he said, this is an event, this is a break, this is a rupture. This is a major shift in the fundamental structure. This is a break in the fundamental structure. Derrida, as per Derrida, that some event has occurred. This event is break. This event is the rupture. Break in the intellectual thought process. The epistemological break resulted in free play within the structure. Another word by Derrida. Event, then free play. The epistemological break, the knowledge break. Through his paper, knowledge break, a rupture in knowledge has happened, and that resulted in the free play within the structure, in a structure of text or in a structure of culture, whatever it is. Free play was the result. See, structuralism is a science, and post-structuralism is not science, it is some sort of philosophy. He was taking the examples, or he was denoting the language, he was denoting the society, he was denoting the whole culture. He was not just pointing out to the language, but he used the very concept of language. Epistemological break, a knowledge break that resulted in free play within the structure. And what do you mean by free play? It is a reference by Derrida, and he introduced this concept in his 1966 essay. What is the name of the essay? Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Science. And this reference by Derrida, that signifiers, words, not being fixed to their signifieds. Signifiers, words എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, it cannot be fixed to the signifieds. ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ വേർഡിന് ഇന്ന പർട്ടിക്കുലർ മീനിങ് എന്ന് നമുക്ക് ഫിക്സ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. But it points beyond themselves to other signifiers. We are moving into signifiers and signifiers. We are not moving towards signified. We are referring to signifiers only. Signs refer to other signs. There is no final sign. We are not reaching to a center. Sign, there is no center. We are just reaching. It is the free play of meanings. For example, I already told you what is the meaning of beautiful. Cute. What's the meaning of cute? It's pretty. What's the meaning of pretty? What's the meaning of pretty? Tell me. A pretty girl, suddenly you may get the idea of or a picture of pretty girl in your mind. And then the very next moment you will be getting the idea of any other movie that she acted recently, isn't it? So like that we are moving into signifiers, and signifiers we will not reach ultimately a signified. Beautiful, attractive. What is attractive? It is pretty. What is pretty? It is handsome. What is handsome? It's lovely or nice looking. And what is that? It is delightful, charming. Like that we go into signifiers and signifiers without reaching a ultimate signified. So there is no single meaning. It is the free play of meaning, multiple meanings. And this idea is against the idea of a fixed center, against the notion of presence, against the notion of the correct meaning, against the notion of the presence of meaning. It is the dissemination of multiple contradictory meanings. It is contradictory meanings are dispersed in a single word. Derrida argued that if the relation between a signifier and signified is arbitrary and all language is relational, he is taking the concept of Saussurean notions of language and signification. Then the process of reading is a movement from one signifier to another. If the relation between signifier and signified is arbitrary, that there is no inherent connection between signifier and signified, we just attributed the concepts into that signifier, then and the language is relational like this, the process of reading is just a movement from one signifier to another signifier, one word to another. Beauty means pretty, pretty means handsome, handsome means nice looking means attractive. We are moving from one signifier to another signifier only. We can never come to the end of signification. We can never come to the concept of signified, and we can discover the ultimate meaning. ഒരു അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് മീനിങ്, ഇതാണ് ഇതിൻ്റെ മീനിങ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ഒരു അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് മീനിങ് ഒരിക്കലും എത്താൻ പോകുന്നില്ല. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ പ്ലേ ഓഫ് മീനിങ്സ്, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ ഫ്രീ പ്ലേ ഓഫ് മീനിങ്സ്, മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ മീനിങ്സ്, proliferation of meanings. So think this is associated with one, not associated with one single word. A whole words he is telling, whole language he is telling. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ അവിടെ നിന്ന് എങ്ങനെ നമ്മൾ മീനിങ് എടുക്കും? ഹൗ ക്യാൻ വി ടേക്ക് ദ മീനിങ് ഔട്ട് ഓഫ് ഇറ്റ്? If the words or the signifiers keep on moving into one signifier and signifier, it is not reaching a signified. How will we take the meaning? That is a problem. It's problematic. Language turned into a problem. It's problematic. Every signifier refers to other words only. Signifiers in an endless postponement. Every signifier refers to another signifiers and other words. We are postponing the meaning. We are postponing deference of meaning. It is the postponement of meaning. We cannot reach to the point, reach to the meaning. It is postponing. Meaning is postponed. We just travel along the path of meaning making. We just move. We just travel along the path of meaning making. We can never arrive into that. For example, if we take another word, cat, we may use the words like animal, or we may associate, or just we may think about Tom and Jerry. Maybe we will move into tail, or we may move into any other word. More signifiers along the chain of signification. Many signifiers. There is no final signified, because even that signified, if we are taking, that consists of more words, more signifiers. Cat, what's the meaning of cat? It's an animal. If you are saying to a person who have not seen cat in his life, we are describing cat. What's a cat? First, it's an animal. Maybe the boy or the girl would have seen different animals. Cat, so whether it is dog or whether it is lion, he may be getting confused, right? So further terms like animal for the cat are leading to more signifiers only, cannot reach the final signified. That is why we can say every signifier is made up of an absence. He built on Shaw's idea that meaning is the result of difference. One word is different from other. Cat is cat because it is not hat, because it is not fat, because it is not cat. Derrida said every signifier is made up of an absence. He built on the Shaw's assumption. What is that assumption? Meaning is the result of difference. What is the example for that? Cat is different from bat. Cat is different from hat. Cat is different from fat. Then we get the meaning of cat. Derrida suggests that every word carries, for example, cat, the word carries within it the words that we are aware of as being different. കാറ്റിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ തന്നെ അപ്പോൾ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ വേർഡ്സ് മുഴുവനുണ്ട്. ബാറ്റ്, ഹാറ്റ്, ഫാറ്റ്, ഈ എല്ലാ വേർഡ്സിലും ആ കാറ്റിലും ഉണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ ആ മീനിങ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ വേർഡ്സ് അവിടെ ആബ്സെൻ്റ് ആണെന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ആബ്സെൻസ്. എല്ലാ സിഗ്നിഫയറിലും there are absences. What is that absence? Which is not that particular word. Ipo cat is different from bat, hat and fat. Hence, these bat, hat, fat, all these words are absent in the cat. ഈ വേർഡ്സ് എല്ലാം അതിൽ ആബ്സെൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് അവിടെ തന്നെയുണ്ട്. ആ കാറ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ വാക്കിൽ തന്നെയുണ്ട്. And cat is produced, the word cat is produced because fat, hat, bat, all these words are absent. But these absence നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ നെഗ്ലക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ആബ്സെൻസുമല്ല. These absence are very much crucial because without these other words, without these fat, hat and bat, we would not be able to identify cat. So every word carries within it the words that we are aware of being as different. Every signifier is a series of differences from other signifiers. All of those are absent. Cat is produced because bat, hat and fat are absent. But these absences are really crucial because without them we would not know the meaning of cat. This means the meaning of cat, that particular animal, is the result of all the absences, is the result of the absence of bat, hat, fat or whatever it is, rather than the presence of difference, rather than the mere presence of difference. The meaning depends on the absence of other words rather than the presence of cat. Meaning depends on the absence of other words. So absent ആയിട്ടുള്ള വേർഡ്സിനും ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. Meaning depends on absence of these words as much as on the presence of cat. Catൻ്റെ മീനിങ് കിട്ടിയത് ബാക്കിയുള്ള മീനിങ്സിൻ്റെ ആബ്സെൻസിൽ നിന്നാണ്. These absence are also very much important. And thus Derrida was against the concept of giving importance to presence. Presence of meaning. അതിന് against ആയിട്ടാണ് ഡെറിഡ സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. You cannot just take whatever you cannot just absorb whatever that you see in your front as presence. You have to go beyond that presence. What you see is not real. Presence namukku thonunathu reality aayittu thonunathu, it is not the reality. You have many hidden absences in that particular reality. Meaning based on difference and absent presences and differed, and it was a radical rethinking of the process of the language use. Writing was difference, language was difference. What is the term difference? It's a term that combines difference and deference, postponement, difference between the words, and also deference, the postponement of the meaning. Derrida's starting point is the argument derived from structuralism that language is to be understood as a system of differential signs. Language is to be understood, or words are to be understood as a system of signs. Each word is a sign that generate meaning. That was held by structuralist. And Derrida argues that meaning is generated through the play of signifiers. Words carry multiple meanings, including traces of other meanings that we have seen. Cat has the hidden meanings of other words. Cat has other words in it. Those words appear in traces inside the meaning of cat. For example, think upon a mansion or hut or palace or cottage or bungalow. All these words are connected. These are all places to live, but these are different from each other due to their size and structure, right? Mansion, hut, palace, cottage, bungalow. So how can we define a mansion? A mansion is not a hut, mansion is not a cottage, mansion is not a palace. So this idea of mansion is defined by the differences with other similar concepts like hut, palace, cottage. So this concept of meaning generation out of differences is called difference. Okay, difference is this concept of meaning generation. Word difference is coined by Jacques Derrida, and he incorporated two words, difference and deference, to differ and to defer. He argued that he took the idea of structuralism that a language is a system of differential signs and it generates meaning from phonetic difference rather than by the fixed meanings. You cannot give fixed meanings into that, but we take meanings out of differences between other words. And Derrida argues that meaning is generated through the play of signifiers. It is not generated through an independent object. What is beautiful? It means pretty. That's it, the meaning. You cannot fix the meanings like that. Words carry multiple meanings. Words carry echoes of other words. Words carry traces of other meanings from other related words in other contexts. Language, so we can say, it is not represented as such. You cannot represent it saying it is the real thing. Meaning is really unstable. Meaning constantly displaces. Meaning constantly slides away. It's a slippery of meanings. And the supplementarity of meaning you can see here, that is substitution of meanings, adding of meanings. It's the play of signifiers, and it challenges the fixed meaning. Difference, it challenges the fixed meanings. He showed that language is slippery. It is based on, language is based upon difference and deference, postponement of meaning. Meanings are not at all final, it is for temporary only. There cannot be any authoritative meaning. We cannot just keep on saying this is the meaning of this word. You cannot say that. We cannot attribute any authoritative meaning to a word. Structuralism meanings were attributed, but post-structuralism says you cannot attributing meaning like that. You cannot, there cannot be any authoritative meaning. Meanings are not final. In a word, if you get a meaning, you have another traces of meaning. You have other absences of meanings in that. Okay, are you following me? So this difference incorporate both differences and also deference. So difference is the concept introduced by Derrida, and from two words, difference and deferment. And it is that attribute of language by which meaning is generated because of a word's difference from other words in a signifying system. Remember, mansion, hut, cottage, bungalow. Meaning is inevitably deferred or postponed. This is difference. And difference, it really goes against with the unity of a text. When deconstructive reading is performed, you cannot take the text in a unity. You can have, text is disunified. You can have multiple interpretations. The meanings go beyond the text. You cannot limit the meaning within the text. Meaning goes beyond the text. That is, for example, if you take the works like Tempest by Shakespeare, in the deconstructive reading, it is not simply as Prospero as a good man, but instead Prospero, the work has to be read in the light of post-colonialism, in the light of colonialism, colonial attitude of the West. That is the another meaning. Meaning is disseminated across the text. Meaning is an effect. The whole meaning is dispersed in the text, and the meanings can be found in traces. What I told you, cat consists of other words in that. Those words are absent. These words, the meanings of these words can be found in absence, can be found in the traces. And these are the unending chain of signification. You cannot reach a single authoritative meaning. I told you in the post-structuralism introduction class, when sugar is added, is mixed with water, sugar is dispersed in that. We cannot identify sugar, but we know its taste. Sugar is dispersed in the whole water. Like that, meaning is also disseminated across the text. Meaning can be found in traces. It is the unending chain of signification. The free play of meanings in the works. Signifier leads to signified, which itself becomes a signifier. Or a signifier signified but then it again acts as a signifier. And again another signifier. Then again another signifier. The ultimate signified, the truth, the final meaning, that is transcendental signified. The complete meaning, completeness, the center cannot never be attained. He is deconstructing. The center is not there. You cannot reach the ultimate signified. You cannot reach the center of the meaning. Like he is deconstructing the whole notion. Transcendental signified is not there. The ultimate signified is not there. The complete signified, the complete meaning cannot be attained. Now we are moving into deconstruction. Deconstruction, introduced in the work Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences, 1966, and it dismantled the hierarchical binary conceptual oppositions. binary oppositions which generated meaning as per structuralism, and deconstruction dismantled this hierarchical binary oppositions. Remember, it was a break in the intellectual cosmos, a rupture in the intellectual cosmos. What concepts, when you get into the mind, when you hear the word white, fairness, justice, innocence, beauty, and about black, crime, death, we wear death, black clothes, right? Corruption. Deconstruction actually addresses this creation of binary opposites. Binary opposites devalues one part. It gives more importance to the another word. For example, man, woman, binary opposition, more importance to man, or white, black, importance to white. And through deconstruction, it involves dismantling of this hierarchical binary oppositions. It is not reversing the order of binary oppositions. No, woman is not more important or black has more importance. It is not reversing the order. But deconstruction shows they are connected. They are involved. Both these words are within, together, implicated in each other. Deconstruction highlights the tension between what a text means to say, that means explicit meaning, presence of meaning, and the tension between presence of meaning and what it is constrained to mean. What is the hidden meaning? What are the absences? What are the traces? One of the central problems of deconstruction is that use of the very conceptual language it seeks to undo. We use English, or we are using English to understand the concepts of deconstruction. But actually, if we study deconstruction, can we able to believe what we see around? No, everything is deconstructed, falling apart. Meaning is just falling apart. You can just rely on one particular meaning. He exposed the undecidability of the meaning. Meaning can't be decided. It is slippery of the meanings. Deconstruction breaks down the text. The whole text. Deconstruction breaks down the reality. Deconstruction defeats aims, purposes. It reverses the arguments, contradictions. And it also shows its dependence on other text, other underlying meanings, which is not explicitly said. Thus, deconstruction is interested in the contradictions that resist meaning. So, in the deconstructive reading of a text, a person who reads sees what the author has not said, and he detects what remains to be said. That is what നമ്മളൊരു വർക്ക് നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം വായിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം അത് ആരുടെ കണ്ണിൽ കൂടെയാണ് അത് പോകുന്നത് അതിൻ്റെ പിന്നാലെ പോകും. വേണ്ട, ഒരു മൂവി എടുക്കാം. മൂവിയാണ് എപ്പോഴും എല്ലാവരും അസോസിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. മൂവി എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ we take the meanings what we presently see in that, right? But then very next time when we see the movie, no, we don't do that. We detect other things out of it. We detect what remains to be said. We see the remainders of something else in that text. That is the deconstructive reading, the deconstruction of the text. Now we are moving into phonocentrism, logocentrism. Phonocentrism is a term Derrida uses to describe the privileging of speech over writing in the Western thought. See, speech is privileged in most of the times. because it is more authentic. It happens only with the speaking person. And writing is treated as artificial, unreliable. Speech is taken to mean the presence of the speaker, and writing to mean absence. Speech is the presence, and writing is less privileged. Speech and writing, binary oppositions, two binary oppositions. And Western thought gave more importance to speech, presence. In a class, a teacher is taking the class, she is the presence there. Or where the students will be more into the knowledge when the teacher is speaking. If the teacher has some urgency and teacher has given some notes and she wrote the notes in the board and she left, it means absence. It means some sort of lack. Speech is given more importance in the Western thought, and Derrida calls it as phonocentrism, privileging of speech over writing. Speech is privileged, and it seems to have an essence, that is the speaker. And listeners assume the speaker embodies the truth of what is being said because the speaker is present. Derrida then proposes the notion of truth, notion of presence is dependent upon this idea of a center, or this idea of essence, this idea of truth. This is what he terms logocentrism, or the metaphysics of presence, where the presence is seen as truth. Presence is given more privilege. Presence is given as attributed as truth, or presence has more authority, and that he terms logocentrism. And Western thought is with logocentrism. Logocentrism is the term he uses to describe the essence, reason, truth and center. Everything is related to the center. We got a center, and in that center the structure is being built. We got an essence, we got a reason, a truth, signified, ultimate center. The logos, or the final meaning, is believed to vest in God, or we can say the truth, we can say the ultimate signified, and whom Derrida terms it as transcendental signified. In the Western philosophy, transcendental signified is there, the ultimate truth. It ends the very process of signification, the last truth, final truth. But what Derrida claims, there is no center. You are just running behind signifiers and signifiers. There is no signified, there is no center. He is deconstructing the logocentrism. Derrida sees the entire canon of Western philosophy rooted in this metaphysics, in its search for a core meaning, the privileging of presence, and it rejects the absence, rejects writing and difference. And transcendental signified, they find it as God or truth. And Western philosophy assumes all truth originates in this transcendental signified. Derridian deconstruction rejected this emphasis on center, rejected emphasis on presence, rejected emphasis on truth. He upholds the notion of decentering. Derrida asserts that a fixed structure is a myth. You cannot have a center, so you cannot have a structure. Structure is a myth. Fixed structure is a myth. Center gives stability, unity and closure to the structure and can be conceived as origin. Logocentrism, or the metaphysics of presence, is motivated by this desire for the center, by this desire for the essence, presence, which is stable, permanent. But can we identify the center? No. Derrida calls such center transcendental signified. For another example, I can tell you is that in a country, the most prominent person, or we see it as the prime minister, right? Do the prime minister have whole power vested in him? No, because it is given by the people. Democracy, through democracy, he has given the power. And if he is running the country, whether he is running it alone, no, by the other influences around him, maybe MNCs or the parties or the people, their reactions, everything constitute this power. So you cannot identify the correct center. It keeps on changing. Power keeps on changing. You cannot fix a correct center. That is one example. So you cannot reach the ultimate transcendental signified. Transcendental signified is the signified that transcends all signifiers and the meaning that transcends all signs. But Derrida is decentering the notions. You cannot reach transcendental signified. He is deconstructing the whole notions. Metaphysics of presence. It is the desire for immediate meaning, and it privileges presence over absence. There is biased in certain binary oppositions. One is placed in a higher position, presence of the higher hierarchy, metaphysics of presence. And actually, he is against the notion. Derrida is against this notion of metaphysics of presence. And he is giving the importance of absence. Derrida argues that transcendental signifieds are constructed within the language, within the province of language and textuality in relation to other concepts. The transcendental signified, the ultimate truth is constructed. By virtue of Derridian concept of difference, meanings become infinitely elusive and it differ and differ. Endless chain of signification, one signifier to another, rise to innumerable meanings, multiple meanings. All meanings appears in traces that are left between signifiers. We cannot reach absolute signified, and he is deconstructing the myth of ultimate signified, absolute transcendental signified. So that's it all about today's class, and we will continue with Derrida in our next class. Happy learning.